Welcome everyone to this week's episode of VGN Weekly. As always, we will recap all the VGN broadcast events right here. We will also have in-depth interviews with your favorite drivers, sponsors, league owners, and much more. So subscribe and like the broadcast. And also don't forget to hit that notification bell so you can be alerted every time VGN takes to the airwaves. And if you're a league owner and you are looking for a broadcasting need, please reach out to us at virtualgrip.net. Welcome, everybody. My name is John Hine, along with Ryan Seneker, who is the one that really makes VGN go. Thank you for joining us this week on VGN Weekly. This week, we will have none other than one of the voices of the VGN Broadcasting Network, or the Virtual Grip Racing Network, Zahn, as part of our weekly conversation. But first, I want to say thank you. A lot of you will notice that I was not here last week. And I first want to say thank you to Ricky Harden for stepping in and doing this for me, and Jeff Harden, our guest. And it's a great show. So you can go back and and if you missed it, you can go back and watch it. It's like I said, a really good show, and I want to thank them for stepping in. And now the reason they stepped in, I know a lot of you know, my daughter on Tuesday of last week actually found out that we found out she had a mass on her brain, which ended up being a tumor, and she had brain surgery on Friday. And I do want to take the opportunity to thank everybody that either liked or followed on the Facebook what was going on, and put words of encouragement. I know a lot of the folks here in the BRL family. They messaged me directly, and I want to say a personal thank you to all of you. There was the surgery was 6 hours, and scrolling through and rereading the messages and looking at the likes, and it really helped me Friday night, helped my family get through that. I showed Cassie all the people that were chiming in, and it just it meant a lot to us and got us through a tough time. So I do want to say thank you, like I said, on a personal level. So thank you, and all is good. And they did get it. They did get it removed, and we're waiting on a pathology report to confirm what it is. But all points are all things are. All things are pointing in a positive way here. The doctor, number one, thought the tumor itself was calcified, which means it's been there for a while. No signs of it spreading. In fact, it hadn't even latched onto the brain, so there was no tentacles or anything like that. They were able to get it right out. So all things good so far, and hopefully next week I'll update with just that little bit more good news there once we get that report. So, but I know you guys all tune in here to hear about what's going on the VGN on a weekly basis. So let's get to it. But first, let's do a quick timeout, and we'll be back with none other than Soup. And welcome back to VGN Weekly. I am John Hine. I'm now joined by none other than one of the voices of the VGN network, Soup Zahn. And Soup, how are you this fine weekend?
Well, I'm doing a lot better after I just heard that news about your daughter. That's just great news. And I don't mean to be cavalier about it, but man, I'm familiar with hospitals. I've taken care of sick family members, and they do some amazing things now medical wise. So that's
They
great
do.
news.
They do, and I can't believe she's home already.
Yeah.
Because I've never known anybody that's had brain surgery, and if somebody would have told me, "Hey, going down for brain surgery," I would expect that I'm not going to talk to them for a month. It's probably going to be a while before they can. But yeah, you're right, and I should give a shout out to everybody at Barnes Jewish Hospital here in St. Louis. They took amazing care of Cassandra, and I do probably owe them a big thank you too. But thank you for the encouragement there, Soup, and I'm sure when she sees this, it'll make her smile all over again. So, but Soup, you know what? You have a long history here with the Bootleg Racing League, and it started some time ago. But let me ask you about the very beginning. First of all, how did you get into sim racing, and then how did you find the BRL?
I can tell you when I got into sim racing. I go all the way back to June of 1967. Now, I can remember because Wilder Sports would do the broadcast of the Indy 500. And they never do it live. It was always 2 weeks later on their Wide World of Sports. Jim McKay would come on and they would do it. And it was the year of the turbine. Andy Granatelli and Parnelli Jones and I'm sure everyone knows the story, but I mean the thing was amazing.
And AJ won that race.
AJ won that one. In fact, you look at a lot of AJ's wins. They're funny. But I get off subject here, but he has 4 wins, first to win 4. A lot of them were so lucky to get him. He won on, if you review his wins, they were really lucky. And then a lot of them he should have won that he didn't. So it's really racing. But anyway, so I'm 7 years old and this story comes on and I'm fascinated by this car that whispers, the whole story. So anyway, it was
called the Whoosh. It was the Whooshmobile.
Man, and you have to realize back in 67, boxing and the Indy 500 and horse racing were huge. It's amazing the difference of how things have changed. Yeah. I mean, boxing is it's long gone, and the Indy 500 is still the Indy 500, but man, it wasn't anything like it was. So anyway, I'm a little kid, and I am so fascinated with this and I love board games. So I actually made a board game. It was called Indy Victory or Death. And it was like you got your little matchbox and you rolled the dice, you moved them around and everything. And I made it myself, had a board and everything. And my friends loved it over the summer. Let's play that game. So I made a whole bunch of them and I actually was selling them I was at St. Matthew's Elementary, Go Fighting Sailors. I was selling them to the kids in my class and even to kids like I was in Catholic school, so even the public school kids that lived around. I actually made like 10 or 12 of them. I was selling, making money. And but it takes a sour turn. So because I wanted realism. So one of the rules that came with the game was if you roll 666, you roll the dice. Oh, look, my video is just behind myself. Just like it's just like my sim racing. I'm behind. Anyway, you roll 666s and the rule said you have crashed and you've been injured and you have to take your car off the thing. And so included in the game were I sawed off some broomsticks and they were like 18 inches. They were like 3 little 18-inch long like billy clubs. And so Gunther Schinhofen bought a game from me. I got like $6 or $7. He bought a game from me. Maybe it's like $2. And he's playing it with his sisters, Heidi, Helga, and Hilda. Now, I personally think there was something else going on dynamically between the younger sisters and him. But anyway, he rolls 666s and he crashes and he's injured. And the rules say that your fellow competitors get to take the clubs out and hit you to simulate injury. And so they just went off on just punishing poor Gunther, the 3 sisters. And he ended up going to the hospital. It was a horrible thing. And then it got back to Sister Mary Catherine, the Mother Superior, and that got called in, and they were going to suspend me and everything. And my dad had to come in and say, "Wait a minute." So it was an auspicious start, but so that I didn't do anything in sim racing after that for a long time. And then I got into online gambling, online poker when I was much older. Obviously, not when I was 7. Well, it might have been closer when I was 7. But
yeah, they never check ID on that anyway.
So I was doing that a lot, playing poker online and for real money. But I could never get it's a poker. The way they do it is very much like iRacing. You can move up to the more expensive tables. You can start playing on the nickel and dime tables. You move up to the $2, $1, $2 tables, and I could win on the dime quarter tables. You play for 4 hours and maybe I'd make enough to like buy half a lunch. And I go, well, gee, if I can do that here, think what I can do. But just like on iRacing, the quality of play increases as you move up. And so I could never make any money. But then what happened was, so I was into that a lot. And then what happened was Black Friday for poker players. So that's when it became illegal to, I'm rambling here on this story. I'll be done in a minute, folks.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
It became illegal to gamble for money in California. And that took all the fun out of it. And so I needed something else to do. And I saw an interview do you remember the old wind tunnel show with Dave Despain?
I do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Saw an interview.
Speed Vision.
The Speed Vision, exactly. He did an interview with Dale Jr. And Dale's into iRacing, and it just started. So I go, wait, I got to check this out. Went online, found a video of cars racing. It was the old solstices. What's plural of solstice? Yes. Solstice. It was
we all know.
It was
we all know what you mean.
Four solstice at the Laguna Seca, and it looks so cool. And you think back now about the graphics were pretty archaic, but so I got into it then. Before that, I had the old Papayas, the Indy 500 game. I think a lot of people have that thing.
Well, how did you go from that? Then you kind of got into there, right almost from the get go. How did you link up with the Bootleg Racing League?
So I was in a league. I was actually managing a league called the MX5 World Tour.
That's the Blondies. The Blondies.
You know it. Good. Yeah. So I was doing that way back then, and I was the manager, and I was horrible. I was racing in the back, but it's fun. A lot like our boss man here. Not really front man, but sometimes it's fun to run the dang thing. So, and I think actually Lowell Jewell, the series organizer here for the Bootleg Racing League, raced in it for a little while before he wised up and went to ovals. I was doing that, and so GSRC was just starting off, and I was actually. The MX5 World Tour is actually the Global Sim Racing Channel's very first broadcast.
Not Richard Eklund's day. Normally we see him up close to the front. He's now behind Bill Zahn, which is very interesting.
And I'm kind of proud of that. Yeah.
Very cool.
And they went on to do some amazing things and launch a lot of careers, to be honest with you. So I did that, and they got me in an interview, and I as I'm doing right now, took like 5 minutes to explain the way for a back marker to get out of the way at Lime Rock, and Joe Peak, who was running the thing, says, "Hey, you're pretty good at the interviews. You want to come in and comment?" Sure. And so I got into it, and the rest is history.
Yeah, rest is history. Well, you do have 4 BRL starts. Do you remember what races and what cars?
I do. I know nothing about it. I remember thinking, gee, only 2 gears, and. I got into, didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know how to get the car to bite. I try to suck stuff out of the guys on I don't know when to use the brakes. The only oval racing I had ever done, and a lot of it was in the open wheels at Indy, because I'm an Indy 500 fanatic. So, and you don't really use the brakes. If you're using the brakes at Indy, you have other issues.
Well, yeah, and if the car's got good enough rubber on it, if your foot's coming off the accelerator at all, you got the issues. But
I think I have a 7th. I think I might have got a 7th in a small field, and
nice. Yeah, well, you've got a legend. You've got a legend start and 3 modified starts.
Okay.
And it kind of raised my eyebrows in the legends. I was thinking, oh, that's a interesting car, but that's one of the original cars, though.
I do, because I had done a lot of racing in the legend. I do remember getting in the modified for the very first time, and honestly, don't tell the boss man about this, but I probably didn't put in a lot of practice time before I got there. And I remember getting to the modified and thinking, I can't see. I can't. There's stuff in my way. It's a
big old air cleaner.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. So it was a learning experience, but yeah, it was fun.
Well, we were talking about GSRC, and one of the I think biggest things, I guess, that put you on the map was the Soup and Cracker show, basically. How did you and Sean link up there, and how did that whole relationship? Because man, those were gold to watch, man. Those were absolutely great broadcasts.
Sean and I are buddies, and actually he was in Texas and then back east. I'm not sure where he was when I met him, but he's from Texas and New York, both. And he was doing GSRC, and we ended up together, and we are like you and I, when we do a broadcast together, we both have. I mean, I was impressed when I dropped a Simon and Poindexter reference on you, and you had that. I mean, I've done that a lot. You and I are of the same ilk, and he and I are like that. So that always makes it fun. It's also fun to work with the new guys who have no idea what you're talking about, which is also enjoyable too. I like doing that with Shaggy Chapman, because I know I say stuff that he just lets it go. But and Ricky Harden actually knows more than I do. So not only will I drop some of him, then he'll correct me and say, "Sorry, Soup. George is really not the largest producer of peaches in the country."
No,
yeah,
you gotta go next door for that.
That's it. So. No, so Sean and I got together and we hit it off, and then I do lead because I can't do color because I don't know how to drive. And we ended up doing a lot of early bootleg racing league events in the booth. And I know those broadcasts come across as silly, but we really take them seriously and try to make them entertaining, but we try really hard not to let the nonsense get in the way of the racing coverage.
Well, I never thought it did. You guys always. I think you guys set the standard actually for a broadcast team actually. And I remember the first time working with you. Because of the whole Soup and Crackers thing, I was scared to death the first time I had to call a race with you. Honest to God, I really was. I was nervous the whole day, going back and forth. Should I really even be doing this? But how long did it? Because you guys, the one thing that I thought you guys had up there, and now you've kind of touched on about being friends, but that rapport in the booth, be able to feed each. How long did it take to develop that? Because, by the time I got to the league and the ones that I've watched, and a little bit further on, right before Sean left, your guys' rapport is second to none to anybody in the broadcast industry.
Yeah, we hit it off. We hit it off really well. In fact, to the point where I'm out in California. I'm right now. I'm up in a little town called Green Valley Lake, which is 7,000 feet elevation here in the San Bernardino Mountains, up above LA. I can look down on actually almost see the Fontana racetrack that used to be there. And actually I'm 95 miles away. I can actually look into the harbor of Long Beach, where I grew up. I grew up like a bike ride away from the Long Beach Grand Prix. But
oh wow,
I had a cabin
history there.
Yeah, I have a vacation home, my cabin, and my wife was ill and she couldn't come up, so she couldn't come up to the cabin. So we had to stay down in our town, down in Lakewood, which is a suburb of Long Beach. And I needed a house sitter, and I said, "Sean, you want to come out and sit in my cabin?" So he was out here living. We've lived together for on and off.
Oh wow,
for a while. Yeah, he's a really good guy. Took good care of my house too. Thanks, Sean, and the neighbors. Thank you as well. But no, we hit it off right away. And in the early years of the BRL, there might have been a little more caution flags than there are now. The racing might have been not quite as timid. There was a lot. Well, there's a lot of. So we came with a lot of caution material filler.
Yeah,
came with a lot of filler material.
Yeah, in those days too, iRacing was still new to a lot of folks. So a lot of folks that came in, and it's funny you say that, because now everybody's closer. And there's not half the caution flags that were back then. I mean, we're on top of each other. I don't know how many times I've listened to you on these broadcasts, and hell, you don't know what to talk about or where to point a camera or whatever. And yeah, I remember those early days, and I also remember getting those emails from Lowell talking about too many caution flags, and then we don't get those as much anymore. So the league has come a long way, but yeah, you guys did have to do a lot of filler, but it helps knowing each other though. I didn't realize you guys knew each other like that.
I don't
So
think we never did a broadcast. What's funny is we've never done a broadcast, even though we lived together and we had the capability to. He would be downstairs, I would be upstairs. We would have the capability to do a broadcast. We never did one together, I don't think. And then he got into directing and made a name for himself there, and ended up. Well, you saw he's been on the show before, but ended up landing a real job at iRacing.
Yeah. You guys are out there hanging out. And what does he do? He gets married and moves east, man. He kind of left you just high and dry, didn't he?
Yeah. Let's set the record straight. He is not married yet. It is.
That's right. He's it's getting close.
That's right. Well, he's Matt Husinger right now, I like to say. And for those of you,
well, who's supposed to get married? This month now, I think September. I think he like 28th or something like that. So you need to circle that date. So make sure if we race around that and he shows up, you got to pull him in that.
He needs to get his priorities straight. Schedule that. You can race in a tux, but get the race in and then say your I do's.
Yes. Well, you know what? Because I know you're a history buff, and this is the question actually that I've been most looking forward to asking you. You kind of touched on it already, but where and how did your love of racing begin? So I'm going to assume about 1967, right?
So then I'm into it big time. And back in the late 60s, finding it's really special because it's just not like it is now. You got to be. How old are you, John?
Just got my AARP card. I'm
all right.
I just turned 50.
All right. Okay. So you get a taste of it that it was almost better because it was more special. But then it's not. But it kind of was.
I actually remember the first time they carried what a big deal it was when they carried the Indy 500 live from flag to flag. I mean, that was like early 80s.
85 or 86 because I just got married. My poor wife.
That was it was your Bobby Rahal one.
Bobby Rahal win. The first time it was live. And here's why that matters to me. And we'll get back to your question in a minute. But so I get married, and my poor wife has passed away, but I love her dearly. So we get married in 87, and for my whole life, since that day, just hooked on Indy, listening to it on the radio, little toy cars on the track, waiting for the 20-lap countdown and placing in the order and moving them off when they're taken off the track. And so I'm in, and so every Sunday, every Memorial Day, actually, I think it used to be on Monday, if I remember right. You listen to it on the radio, which just even better because your imagination's running crazy with you. So then to get back to when you talked about when they first go live, that's back in like 86. Ever since then, my wife and I would always take a vacation on Memorial Day, and bless her heart, every Memorial, we'd leave Thursday, come home on a Tuesday. Every Memorial Day vacation had to stop while her husband had to watch the Indy 500. And I don't know the years that people have won, but I can name the place that I watched it at. So it's like, Ari Lyonek wins. So that was Lake Louise in Canada, and Fittipaldi and Little Al get together. Oh, that was Morro Bay in California.
It was 92. That was 92.
There you go. Every one of those. While she was healthy, we were traveling. I can place the. I remember Al Unser getting his fourth win, and I couldn't.
He wasn't even supposed to be driving that year either. He
lucked into
he was
car.
He filled in for Danny Angaias.
The flying Hawaiian. Yes. So,
who had more metal in him probably.
oh, Danny Young guy.
You want to talk about Iron Man? Then we could probably do a whole show on Danny.
My drivers were my two drivers growing up was Lloyd Ruby. I loved Lloyd Ruby.
The big Texan. Yep.
Yeah, he did never. We always had be fast, never win. And then Danny Young guy is very much a Lloyd Ruby type.
Really?
But, yeah.
Wow.
So my dad took me, I think probably 1970. I'm in Southern California, Indy fanatic, right? So what are the odds that somebody builds a replica of the Indy 500 of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Ontario, which is just a 65-minute drive from where I live. So I'm there to see Jim McElreath win the very first Ontario 500, which was the track was, it didn't have the stands, it didn't have the grandstands like Indy, but it was a carbon copy of Indy for the most part. And then he took me to, I saw the first Long Beach Grand Prix, which is a Formula 5000 race. And then I broke into the Long Beach Grand Prix for the next several years because I was a teenager and was a bike right away. They can't keep me out of my town. And then there was a dirt track that no one seems to remember. I don't think I talked to you about it. I don't think you remember. It's the dirt track out in California. It was owned by JC Agajanian, who used to take cars to Indy all the time. It was called Ascot Park. And,
Ascot.
Ascot?
I'm very familiar with Ascot.
Okay. It out here in California, it was
there. It was there until about 2004 or 5 or something like that. But I have raced a midget at Ascot.
Really?
Yes.
That's wonderful. That's great to know.
One of the handful of starts in a midget. I went out there and then did a couple of CRA races and a couple of midget races, and was there and then in Paris. So,
like Riverside and Ontario and now Fontana and Ascot, the price of real estate becomes too expensive in California to have a racetrack, and I think that's we can't keep them out here. So anyway, so yeah, that's my dad did it, and my dad was a fan, and you know how that is. Never did anything in racing other than just watch and just think it was amazing. I'll tell you this story though. So I'm an Indy 500 fanatic, and man, if you need to pause for a commercial,
just for the record, just for the record, so am I. So this could go off the rails.
All right,
real fast.
So my family every year from when I was a little kid would have an Indy 500 pool. We get 11 of the family members in, and you pull 3 names out of the hat, and you know, basic rules. You have 3 drivers, and so I remember, and you get to keep them from year to year. So my mom is in the thing, and it's got to be, I'm going to think 82, 83. Anyway, she pulls a name out of the hat, and she looks at it, and it's his first year, and she opens it up. She looks at it, and she says, and my mom never curses. She says, "Who in the hell is Ricky Hearn?" So I don't know if you know the name Ricky Hearn, but he put in 7 starts at Indy. So I go, okay.
Richie Hearn or Ricky?
Richie Hearn. Did I say Ricky? Yeah, Richie Hearn.
Yes.
Yeah, Richie Hearn. Yeah, good for you. Sorry, Richie. I know who you are. So what are the odds? So I'm doing a series called for GSRC, doing the Lionheart series, which is a IndyCar series, right?
Yes.
And my color commentator, I got to pinch myself to actually think this is true, is Richie Hearn. And we did several seasons together. What are the odds that somebody who I admired, I mean, he's a man who risked his life, you know, going into a corner. In fact, he brags about having for a while, owning the steepest G-force impact for a while. It's like, it's like 250 super or something. I go, this is incredible. It's amazing how life spins around. And the same name that my mom, who the heck is Richie Hearn? And then here I am commentating with him later. It's fun. And then I got to do calling races for Tony Kanaan, you know, during the virus. Kanaan was racing, and I mean, it's just funny. It's just funny, the things, how it works out.
Yeah, you know, and I know iRacing has a lot of synergy with the racing organizations and all that. I still think they're missing the boat of doing something over the winter to bring these guys in to do
Yep.
something. And I mean, maybe it's just not feasible. I mean, I'm one of those armchair quarterbacks. Well, why don't you do this? I mean, they got enough crap on their plate. So,
Well, I tell you,
but
during COVID, I got a little bit. I never take a stance on stuff, but I kind of felt like sim racing is our home.
mm-hmm.
And if you're going to come into our home, I don't care who you are. I don't want you putting your feet up on the coffee table. I want you to respect the home that you're in. And I felt while a lot of the real world race drivers did understand what was going on, some of them didn't, and that bugged me a bit.
But Soup, you even get that with your regular folks that come on, because that's the hard part about sim racing in general, and even for Lowell, for a league owner, you've got a segment there because they want the sim experience. They want it is true to real life, the same rules, the same etiquette, especially the same etiquette on track. And then there's guys that are just gamers, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but they just want to plug and play and BS and have some fun, and it's tough to balance the two, especially when they're sharing the same track. Because if you're on the same track with a guy that, hey, if he wipes out, he doesn't really care. Oh, great, I'll catch the next race in 10 minutes.
Well, that's
that guy. But he just wrecked the guy that but he just wrecked the guy that put all this practice in to get ready for this race. That's the rub of it all.
Well,
It's
that's
tough.
the question. Are we in a game or are we in a sport? And you race it. I'm a sport guy.
I'm telling you, with one of these as heavy as my wheel and direct drive, I've gotten out of a BRL race and thought I needed oxygen or my arms were on fire, and so I've
even seen broadcast companies though that don't treat it. You won't see on VGN or from GSRC any camera angle. You won't see a goofy camera that cannot exist in real life, because it takes you out of the experience. I mean, Ryan does a great job of camera wise, and now you can kind of go with a drone camera, because now they actually have you watch the stuff that what's the league that Tony Stewart started with the All Star?
The flows, but you see it with the All Star champions.
The X, whatever that thing was. Some of the camera shots they were doing with the drones were really cool, and now we can kind of do that. But you won't see any goofy chase cams or anything on our broadcast because it's not cool.
Well, and I've seen when Ryan has simulated that, and I've watched broadcasts on Flow. And I don't know how Ryan puts them, but he gets it. He gets it where it looks like a freaking drone, like you're watching on Flow. So he does a really good job of it. But that's going to be a lifelong. As long as iRacing exists, that debate is going to rage pretty intensely amongst the factions that are here. And it's nice, we're all one big group, we all share a common interest, but boy, that the simmer game, I tell you, that could get some people going.
I'll tell you where I'd like to see sim racing broadcasting go, because I think it has such a inferiority complex. It tries so hard to say, look how we can make this look like a real broadcast. And that's good. Look how we do exactly what the real broadcasting. Unfortunately, network broadcasting does a horrible job of covering racing. I spend my whole time screaming at the TV, because it's like they have people that don't know about racing that are covering it. I don't know how long they can spend on the leaders. You watch a VGN broadcast. I bet you we are not on the leaders more than we are on the leaders on a because there's stuff. And when you go to a racetrack, John, when you're watching from this, you're not watching the guy. You're watching where the action is. And there is one guy that I've seen do it good, and they don't let him do enough, and that's Larry McReynolds. If they could let me, do you know Larry McReynolds? You know who I'm talking?
Yep.
If they would give him more airtime, I would enjoy the broadcast more than some of the. But I preach. But my point is, I think sim racing should kind of do what the XFL did. You look at the kickoffs now in the XFL, and they took it right out of what this goofy little league did. Hey, that looks pretty fun. Let's try that. I think sim racing should show big broadcast companies how it should be done and not try to mimic how badly they do it.
Well, you also have to keep in mind, though, we don't have the multi-million-dollar companies on our cars that you don't. They're not going down there with those in-car cameras and, hey, do you mind if we put a camera? No. The sponsors pay for those cameras and those things.
Yep.
So,
and we don't cut for commercials too. That's
well, Formula One does it now, and man, I love those. Those are just fantastic.
I agree.
And as global and as big as Formula One is, you'd think the rest of them might follow suit. But why don't we shift interest now, or a topic here a little bit? And what
are we done? Is it time? We have time to go somewhere else? Or we've
got plenty of time. We got plenty of time here.
All right.
Because I'll probably even want to come back to the Indy 500 at some point, just because, like you said, we're on the same page about our fanaticism. Because that, for me, that's what got me into racing, was the Indy 500. I grew up before I even got into a car, drove a car for real. I grew up wanting to be Rick Mears. That was my idol growing up, and we'll get into this here in a little bit. Yeah, but all my heroes seem to come back a little bit farther. The Parnelli Joneses and those cats. Those were real race car drivers, and nothing like anybody today. So,
well, there's one guy. There's one guy who's the NASCAR guy. The name slipped. Kyle. He raced.
Kyle Larson.
Yeah, he's a throwback. He's the throwback.
Yeah, but those are rare. But you look at when Indy was king. You had Gurney, Foyt, Johnny Rutherford, Lloyd Ruby. These guys would show up at dirt tracks or small tracks all over the country during
or
the week. Well, everything from Le Mans to Ascot Park.
Yep.
You don't see that anywhere anymore. And I think that's part of they've gotten away from doing that. And, and even NASCAR now, and I can understand it. These guys, these these team owners have millions of dollars into these guys. You can't get them hurt on a $3,000 to win dirt race or late model race, at a local track. That risk and reward just, and even as a driver, that risk and reward, so I get it. I really, really do. I'd like to see more of them do some more stuff at a local level. I think it would help the sport, but you're going to get me on a whole tangent.
I think AJ Foyt might have been paying for the bread, paying for the groceries while racing dirt track. The money wasn't quite the same. I think it was more of we need to race a little more and make a little more money.
Well, he had to race and do well to just get to the next race. Yeah. I mean, that's what it was. And those guys probably would tell you, to hell with eating. It was about getting to the next race. The eating and all that was probably secondary. It was, hey, we got to race again on Thursday, so we need this amount of money. This is this is where we have to finish. A lot of stories like that. But outside of racing, are there any other hobbies or anything like that you're interested in?
I'm a musician. I'm a musician. I grew up as a musician. In fact,
very cool.
I was in the early '80s. I was in a top 40 cover band. I know.
What do you play?
I'm a keyboard player.
Keyboard
player. So I used to, and I was a music teacher. So I would teach music till about 9 o'clock, 8:30. Say goodbye to the kids, and then get to the gig in time to start playing at 9 o'clock. And I did that for 7-8 years in the 80s. It was a lot of fun. I think we weren't the most talented band. I think a lot of what happens in the broadcast comes from my time on stage, but we would put on a good show. We would be entertaining, and we would make more money than a lot of guys who were better musicians because people had a better time. And that's kind of that same stage attitude that I brought to broadcast and go, clearly I'm not the most talented. You look at some guys, there's a guy named DJ Clark who I came up with and oh my
DJ's
God.
Really good.
Oh my, and now he's actually working for NBC is like, so I do it all with smoke and mirrors, and DJ's very kind to credit me with teaching him the ropes. I'm like, yeah, right. I was in your way. But that was a lot of fun playing out. It was fun. Good time. It's fun playing with the guys. Not making a lot of money. Good story. I don't know if I can tell. Let me think. Are we taping this so we can edit the story out? Okay.
No, just talk. So
Okay.
talk.
This one may not make the show, folks. So if like all of a sudden I'm wearing a different clothes, it's because we've done an edit. But, so I'm playing out one time, and you'd work Wednesday to Saturday. Wednesday was setup day. You bring your gear in. Saturday was teardown day. So if you're gonna get romantically lucky, you're gonna have to do it on a Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday night, because Saturday night you're busy. You've got stuff to do. You got to tear down your stuff. You can't leave it in the place. So as it works out, I one Saturday night I met this really gorgeous woman, tall, gorgeous woman, brunette. And so after the show, I'm outside, and I was smooching with her a little bit, and I said, okay, I got to go in and tear down. I come back in, and the band is just laughing their ass off. They're tearing down this stuff. Because apparently Becky was also known as Bruce.
Who is this?
It's ma'am.
She sounds hideous.
Well, she's a guy, so.
Oh.
And they intentionally didn't tell me that. So I missed that. It's a good story, that one. And I know I've never told that story before, other than to just a few people, and I know there's a friend of mine.
Right about now, Lowell Jewel just ran his truck off the road. I'm just going to say that now.
A friend of mine, Mary, loves that story. Her mom is sick, so I hope that gave her a laugh. If she's watching, Mary, there you go. I hope your mom's doing better and enjoy that one. And Bruce or Becky, if you're listening, it was never going to work out because we were too much alike, gender-wise, but you were a darn good kisser, and I hope you're doing well.
I don't even know where to go from this.
Is that going to make the show?
That'll make the show.
And
yeah, let me ask you a question. Because my daughter, she played in the high school band and whatnot. She played the French horn. I grew up playing drums, so very musical family. But what is your favorite song to play on the keyboards? I mean, what's the one where you just right there in the pocket? That's your jam. What is
Bruce Hornsby? That's the way it is. You got to go back to
way back machine
80s. Yeah, well, I was playing out. It had a nice. He's a keyboard player with a solo, and that one would work in several ways for me. It came to my benefit. So that was my wife's. I met my wife playing out, and after Bruce / Becky, I was fortunate to meet Ginny and once you meet somebody you love, you don't want to be playing out much anymore. But that was her favorite song, so I guess it's my favorite song. Bruce Hornsby, that's the way it is. Google it, folks, if you're not old enough. And
then look at Soup and just picture him jamming. That'll be perfect. Well, you talked a little bit about some other hobbies, but I also heard that you're kind of a card shark on Sunday nights. So what's up with that? You talk about online poker, and are you sharking the guys? A
little bit. I was doing well. There's a driver named Donnie Moore who caught on to my style, got out of my technique, and so
you got to watch Donnie, man. He's sketchy, man. He figures stuff out and uses it against you quite often.
Donnie was sharp. Donnie, that's a lot of fun. We used to do some poker on Sunday here, and it goes back because I'm good enough to hold my own, but not good enough to win. So.
Sometimes that's all that really matters.
What's funny is John, it's easy to win on the cheaper tables, but it's more fun. It's more fun to play on the more expensive tables because the poker is better, and it's almost more fun to lose than it is to win not having it, because it's more. I think that makes sense. I mean, it's you'd rather play with good guys
you get better by playing the best. So
apologies to J.R. Shepard, but I feel on the cheap tables I felt like J.R. Shepard, and then when I move up to the upper tables, the more expensive tables, I felt like I was playing a bunch of J.R. Shepard. So it's I'd rather lose to J.R. than beat
beat someone like me that
I'd be
that
lucky
plays
to beat someone like you.
well. No. I mean Goldfish.
Okay, got it.
So not much of a card player, but surprisingly, I do like blackjack though. I will play blackjack. I really, really like blackjack, but that ends my card prowess. I like this racing stuff so much. So if I get bored, I just hop on here and start.
Frontier Hotel and Casino, which is no longer there, as is so many of my favorite hotels and casinos in Vegas. Used to have single deck blackjack where you could actually count the cards, and it was actually fun. Single deck blackjack, a thing of the past, and a great prime rib buffet.
Wait a minute, you mean count the cards? I've seen enough movies knowing that can get your legs broken on your way out of the casino. They allow you to count cards?
Well, they'll ask you not to play anymore.
Is that the term they use?
Yes.
Like I said, I've seen some movies where, that's but they make sure they get their point across in pretty creative ways, I guess. But I guess maybe I've watched Casino one too many times, or a couple.
Well, if you're counting cards and making $5,000 bets per hand, they treat you a little different if you're counting cards and you're making a $5 bet per hand. They just say, hey, knock it off.
Well, after this broadcast, now you're not going to be worried about taking that other part out. You're going to worry about taking that out. Your face is going to go up on casinos all over the West Coast. Do not let this guy in.
I should be so lucky. That would be a good thing.
Well, you talked about you living out there in California, out there in San Bernardino and whatnot. Is that where you always have lived at, and just because you said you grew up down the way there? So have you ever? Let me ask it a different way. Have you ever been anywhere outside of that area? Ever lived outside that area?
Never lived anywhere. Traveled a lot, but grew up in Long Beach, St. Matthews Elementary School. Go Fighting Sailors. And then went to the local high school here.
You say you travel. You say you travel a lot. Where's your favorite place you've been?
I don't think Vegas counts because that's almost a second home. I feel really comfortable in Vegas, so I'm going to take Vegas off the table.
Okay.
I think
you need to get to Macau then.
I think Niagara Falls is Macau would be good. I think Niagara Falls is underrated. I think it gets a lot of bad hype. I think that's pretty impressive. I think the Grand Canyon is way overrated. And I've been to Europe a little bit.
Where's a bucket list place for you?
It all circles back around, doesn't it? Indy 500. Indy 500 would be a bucket. Sit turn one, Indy 500, lap one. Sit there and watch them come at me and cross my fingers and hope they get all through. Yeah. That would be good. I'd like to go, because the racing starts to kick in. I'd like to go to Le Mans. You'd like to go to Le Mans. Spa would be fun to see, right?
Spa would be great, just because of the area around Spa. Yeah. I've got bucket lists myself, and race. There's a couple races that are attached to a couple places, let me go and I'll tell you a quick story.
I've had food in England. I have no need to go see any tracks in England. That's fine. I don't need to go back there. It was awful.
Well, since you're a big fan of Indy, I'm going to share my own story here a little bit because I got to go there when Formula One went. And I got to see Michael Schumacher and all those guys. And you talk about turn one for the Indy 500, coming through that corner. Well, I went there to witness open practice and qualifying for the first or second Formula One race that was there. I went down there in turn one, and I'm watching these guys now. They're going counterclockwise. And I'm watching them zip through the corners, and I'm thinking, not a big deal. No different than what I've seen, Mario or Michael or any of those other guys, do over the years, right? But then I went down to what the Formula One turn one is, which is right past the pit road opening, and it's about a 90-degree turn in. These guys were still full throttle, 200 yards, 200 and some odd mile an hour from this turn, and they would lift, and you could hear the downshift. It's a pow, 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 downshifting, and they would just choo-choo. that was the most impressive thing I've ever seen on a racetrack.
You're talking the oval turn one be like their final corner then, right?
Yep, that's their final corner. They go all the way down that front stretch, and when they get to the end of the front stretch, it literally it's about a 90-degree turn. It's flat, and I mean, 200 yards before that is about where they lift. And
that's the corner that's responsible for the 6-car race because
yes,
they were burning up the tires and they couldn't figure out a way to.
Yep, that's exactly right. So, yeah, a lot of history there at that track. So, but I'll tell you, I tell you the story now because I've always we've wrapped up the shows with folks and done like a word association. Well, I've decided to kind of rename it here. We're going to call it green, white, checkered.
Okay.
All right. So
I still don't understand how it works, so I'm not guaranteeing.
I'm going to give you the rules. I'm going to give you the rules here.
Okay.
I'm going to say a name, and I want you just to give me the first thought that comes to your mind. Okay.
Got it.
Simple.
Got it.
And after you give me the first thought, maybe depending on how
first
crazy the answer is,
okay, got
we
it.
We might elaborate if it get. So you ready?
Yes.
Indy 500.
Lemon pie. Oh, sorry. Lemon pie is always the first thing that comes to mind. So let me try again. Indy 500. Turbine.
Road or oval commentating? Yeah, pick one.
Oh, wow. Commentating.
I stumped you.
No. Economaki.
Okay, but what do you prefer to do if you're going to be on the booth? Would you prefer road or oval commentating? And yes, Chris Economaki is
what I think of oval.
Yes, yeah, he and Ken Squire, nobody better.
I wish we could do more road. I like doing road racing with I like doing 45-minute road racing with a pit stop. I think that's the best format for
iRacing. Absolute beginners you have a blast with then, huh?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Last one.
Oh, okay.
Blondie's Bar and Grill.
Bartender.
Now you've got to expand on that here. After the Bruce story, you can't leave it there.
There's a story to go with it. So, Blondie's Bar and Grill was sponsoring.
Do I need to tell the parents to get their children out of the room?
No. This is a good one. This is a good one. So it's a little bar in Long Beach, and what they would do is they were helping with the funding for the broadcast, and they would. This is back in the old days. They really couldn't stream it, but somehow they got it up on the monitors. There, use my hand there. Monitors for people to watch, and it was a good night. They were making money on it. Then they weren't making money on it. And they had to stop it because apparently the bartender who was responsible for running it was skimming the till, and they were not making as much money as they should have. So the owner said, "We're not doing this anymore because it's not my fault that your bartender is skimming." He goes, "Well,
get a new bartender."
Yeah, all right. Let's keep it going. Let's get somebody else. So
you say, "I know a guy. His name's Bruce. He can come in and do this, right?"
That's funny.
Well, Soup, I appreciate your time here this afternoon and all that. And you know what? It's been really good to get to know you. And also thank you for kind of taking me under your wing to do the broadcasts and all that kind of stuff. Man, I can't tell you how much I miss working with you on Saturday nights, and always look forward to it when I get the call. And yes, I did honestly get nervous. No BS there, but the first time I had to work with you, I was a bit nervous. So I don't get nervous easy.
I know that comes across as goofy, but I really do take what I do seriously. I really do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The best show I can, and I come across as kind of out of.
You got to know my nervous. You got to know my nervousness came from watching you and knowing the bar was up here, and personally, I didn't want to come in and pull that bar down, and that's what I was more nervous about than anything.
It's good to have fresh blood in the booth. Otherwise, too much soup. Well, that doesn't make a very good meal.
Well, again, I want to thank you for coming on in here. And what do
Okay.
you say before the end of the year? We get you and Sean
Crackers?
in here.
Yep.
Yeah, and we do a soup and crackers episode. God knows what that's going to look like. God knows that might even be a 2-episode show.
We might not need you for that one, John.
You
But
you may you may not.
introduce us and tell us when we're done.
Yeah, that's
You know
so.
what's funny with Sean is we have similar lives in so many ways because his dad was a racer, and he's really annoying to be around. I know we're going, but he's really annoying to be around because I'll come up with a story about racing, and I'll come up with an AJ Foyt story. And he goes, "Yeah, AJ Foyt took me to lunch one day," or it's like, and then he was in the music business. He was a roadie, and I go, I really like this Bound Parliament. He goes, "Yeah, we used to." Partake together in certain type of undertakings. Like, oh man, it's like every story I have, he has the same story, but way better. So Sean's a good guy. So
Well, and also I know that we're wrapping up here, but I do have
Wrap it
another
up.
question. I do have another question here that just popped in my head when you mentioned AJ because of where you grew up. Torrance isn't that far from you.
No,
So I gotta ask, how did you not get into drag racing with Perdome and all that was going on
I
out
don't know
there?
what.
I mean, that was a big deal out in that area for. I mean, you
Yeah.
had Indy and that. I mean, but that was huge out there at that time.
Unless the cars actually have to turn.
Okay,
It's not
fair enough.
really racing. I mean, that's
I was just kind of one because we never mentioned, and I thought, man, how? I mean, that's all like right there, and during that time, I mean, just like Indy, and we lost a lot of folks because of safety, but that was probably the best era, probably across the board in racing in general. I mean, the drivers all had personalities, had cavalier attitudes.
Shirley Muldowney, baby. That's my girl.
Cha.
That's it. You think of
But
women race
Coletta,
drivers, and there's her, and then there's nobody else.
well, yeah, I mean,
Okay, go ahead. We're done, but go ahead. Who?
Well, I thought Shauna Robinson from the
Okay,
NASCAR,
yeah.
she came in, but Janet Guthrie broke some barriers there and then paved the way. So I think we've had a few that.
Barrier breakers and championships are
Well, you're right, and Shirley is at the top. There's no question about that. But I think we're due to see someone a new Shirley Muldowney.
I think the best
in
one I've
some
ever
form.
seen that never got good is the Swiss Missile Di Silvestro. I think was outstanding, and they never get her.
I do. I think I very underrated
Yeah.
and yeah, and I'm sure that opportunities in the sport are a lot harder for them to come by. But I do think we're due. I think we're due for another Shirley, whether it be a Formula One driver, a NASCAR driver, IndyCar driver. I know there's some really, really good people down on the USAC level right now. That I think are going to be up and coming. I do think
Got to
we're gonna
increase
start
the
hearing from them.
talent pool. I mean, if
Yes.
only
That's the key.
5% of the kid drivers are girls, then you're not. I mean, it makes it hard on it. You got to get those.
That's correct.
Those girls out there.
Yep. So, well, again, thank you very much for having the conversation with me. And real quick though, before we go, we do have one bit of business left here.
All right.
We've got to preview Oswego.
I leave it to you because I don't know anything about it other than I don't even know how to pronounce it.
Oswego is in New York. It's known for a big NASCAR wheel and modified race, and it's also a big block dirt modified race. They got Big Dirt Week down there, biggest event of the year. That's the two crown jewel events that you can find there. But the track itself, and I know I'm gonna people
banking at the track.
Not much. The track that it reminds me of, and I know I'm gonna probably see a bunch of comments here to tell me I'm crazy, but the track, because the only thing I've done on it so far has been dirt. I won a dirt late model race last Sunday on it. So the thing about the track is it feels to me like a really big Langley. You spend so much time in the corners. The corners are very long and sweeping. But the fact that it's bigger, you're going to spend a lot more time on the front and the back stretch. carry a lot of speed into the corners, but man, you are in the corners what feels like forever there. So it's
Well, all I know about Oswego is the story of Honey the Dancing Bear. So maybe I can tell you that. I don't know. We probably don't have time.
Save that for the broadcast.
Okay.
Save it for the show. I don't want to take all your thunder away for that. But it is there's a lot of history there at the track. Like I said, it is in New York. First time BRL is there, so I can't tell you who's going to be good there, who's not going to be there. There actually is a couple different layouts. There's actually a smaller track, but I do believe we're going to the big one. And as much as I beg, I'm sure Lowell's not going to throw dirt on it for Saturday night. So, but yeah, that's where we're going to go. And I think it'll be a pretty good race. In Soup, that's a track that, when we go to new tracks, I think that's going to benefit guys, become a kind of almost like an even, put everybody on the even Steven kind of getting in there, because you know what? Nobody really knows what to expect. I'm sure some guys will practice through the week to figure out tire wear and stuff like that, but nobody has a notebook to go off of and think, okay, you've got to run to about this lap before you start pushing, or hey, this is how passes are done and completed. I mean, you can go out and practice. You can use the AI and go out and practice, but even the AI doesn't completely simulate how everybody in BRL drives. Everybody drives a little different, backs up corners. Some people drives them in. Some people are more aggressive. Some people aren't.
Well, I'll tell you the winner. You ready for the winner?
All right, you predict the winner.
Scott Negus.
Scott Negus. Okay. I think would be. Let me predict the winner here. Who's good on big tracks? I'm going to say Mike Holloway. Look for Mike Holloway to pick up one of those. Mike's really good on the bigger tracks. I think Donnie's really good at those bigger tracks too. So I know I'm kind of now cheating, picking two guys, but yeah, I think the guys that have histories with the bigger tracks are going to do pretty well there. So
we shall see.
Yes.
And it's just in 6 days from right now. And right now,
but everyone watches this on Tuesday, so it's just a few days from there. So,
okay.
Yep. So we all know this. We know it's pre-recorded. It's okay. But
well, the show ran long, but they're going to edit out a story in the middle of it, so we should probably be right on time.
No. We're good. I've gotten feedback where they want these shows a little longer because, well, folks are enjoying them. So thank you for that. So we're going to make them a little longer than the traditional 40 minutes. So, but hey, want to thank you again for your time and everything this afternoon. It's been a great conversation. I cannot wait to have you back in here again and have Sean in here and the chaos that will ensue. That's all I can really think it'll be, but it'll be fun and it'll be entertaining, and I can't wait for that. So
do I have to wear a shirt and tie again, or can I thought it was kind of rude. I've looked at the other guys. Nobody else you made wear a shirt and tie. So and so I thought it was.
You wear whatever makes you comfortable.
Well, all right.
I'm sure, and if it's too far out there, I'm sure because Ryan can do anything behind the scenes, as far as I've seen. He could put one of those little pixelated boxes over anything that.
Yeah, I'd like a backdrop. You can put me at. I'll go ahead and put me at Indy if you could, Brian. That'd be great. So next time.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a whole lot of work for him, but anyway, thank you so much for coming in, and it's been great talking to you. And want to remind everybody too that the upcoming VGN races, are going to be this Saturday night. First, it will be the SKs from Oswego. It'll be followed up by the late model stocks. We'll be right after that.
Tune in for the story of Honey the Dancing Bear.
That's right. Tune in for the Honey, and tune in to hear Soup. Our next podcast next Tuesday will be none other than.
Are you sure about this? There will be one after this podcast.
There certainly will. Hey, if I haven't gotten fired yet,
okay, good.
I'm pretty safe.
Okay. Keep going. Sorry.
Next week will be Joe Segala, so we'll have him in the studio.
Joe Segala.
Be good to talk to.
No, wait, I got one more thing. For Joe Segala, I feel bad about Joe Segala because I can never give the guy a nickname. I have tried so hard. Jonathan Livingston Segala just doesn't work. And I even cut it to Joe Flocka Segalas, but that doesn't work either. So, Joe, I'm working on that. Okay.
You can call him the turkey. I know he's a bowler. When you get 3 strikes in a row, you're a turkey.
Turkey's not bad. I thought about
the turkey.
Him if you go on the other side of the
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
All right. Sorry. Go back to wrapping up the show. I will be quiet.
But yep, like I said, Joe Segala is our next podcast. That'll come out next Tuesday, so make sure you tune in for that. But once again, thank you for tuning in, and remember to give us a like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to click that notification bell so you don't miss any VGN action. Also, if you do have a broadcasting need, please go out to virtualgrip.net. Thank you again, and we will see you again right here next week.
Wait,
on
do you have a tagline? Do you have a tagline to end the show? Come on.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Wait, folks, hang on for the tagline. Here it comes.
Let me go back to the beginning here. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and remember to give us a like and subscribe. Also, click that notification bell so you don't miss any of the VGN action right here on the VGN network. Remember, if you have any broadcasting need, please go out to the virtualgrip.net. And thank you once again, and we will see you right here next week on Virtual Grip Weekly.